Good evening and welcome to this May 12th meeting of the Lake Bluff Village Board of Trustees. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Cole.
Here.
Trustee Fisher.
Here.
Trustee Freed.
Here.
Trustee Hatch is absent. Trustee Rappin is absent. Trustee Ryder.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please stand and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next on our agenda are the consideration of the minutes of the April 28th, 2025 regular village board meetings. Is there a motion for these minutes?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Are there any changes, any typos, changes? Okay, thank you. So it's a voice vote? What's that?
Voice vote.
It's a voice vote. It is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
It's getting it in stereo.
It's two people are voting. It's like a running joke, sorry. I have no clue where we are. So next on our agenda are non-agenda items and visitor. Item 4, the village president and board of trustees allocates 15 minutes during this item for those individuals who would like the opportunity to address the village board of trustee on any matters not listed on the agenda. Each person addressing the village board of trustees is asked to limit their comments to 5 minutes. And I do not see anybody wishing to address the board. Is there anybody online?
There's one person participating online through the village's Zoom meeting. If you would like to be heard at this time for items not on the agenda, please raise your hand and you'll be recognized. Doesn't appear so.
All right, moving forward. Next, item 5, the village board sets the order of a meeting. The village president and board of trustees will entertain requests from anyone present on the order of business to be conducted during this village board meeting. So after visiting the room, item 13 and 14 seem to be ahead of our scheduled items. And so without objections, I say we move to 13 and 14. Mm-hmm. And so item 13. Item 13 is an ordinance granting development concept plan approval and preliminary zoning variations and modifications for a planned mixed-use development at 570 Evanston Avenue. Is there a motion to approve this ordinance?
So moved.
Second?
Thank you. Item 13 is, on March 21st, 2025, the village received applications from Block 3 LLC for text amendment, zoning variations, and a special use planned mixed-use development concept plan with modifications for 570 Evanston Avenue. Proposed is a 4-unit condo building with interior and exterior access to each unit. The building contains residencies on the first and second floors, a partial third floor that provides access to a rooftop deck via stairs and elevator, and an underground 8-space parking garage. Currently, only properties that are fully or partially CBD zoned may apply for a PMD, a planned mixed-use development. The applicant is seeking a text amendment to allow the subject property, Zone R4 Residence District, to utilize the PMD tool. Using the PMD tool, the applicant is seeking modifications to 1, the PMD minimum lot area, 2, certain R4 regulations in draft ordinance, and 3, fence height to allow an 8-foot tall fence. In the R4 district, the allowed building height is 34 feet. Because the PMD tool has a height limit of 30 feet, the applicant is also requesting variations to exceed the one, maximum height of 30 feet by approximately 4 feet, and two, maximum height of 2 stories in order to have a partial third floor. As a reminder, the development immediately west of a subject property was granted a variation of for 35-foot tall condo building. At its April 16, 2025 meeting, the PCZBA forwarded a unanimous favorable recommendation to the village board, subject to conditions related to the 8-foot tall fence, placement and tree placement. The project went to the ARB for an optional workshop on May 6, 2025. The ARB generally reacted positively to the plans, noting a need for some minor changes and simplifications which can be worked out before PMD final plan approval. Comments on the board?
The architect for the project, Mr. Dobbins, is here tonight with a presentation, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
Give me 1 second.
Hello there, I'm Tom Dobbins. I'm the architect for the project. I happen to live in town as well at 403 Evanston Avenue. So, Drew, are you able to put up the slides?
2 seconds.
So we pared down the presentation from what we presented at the PCZBA by quite a bit and the architectural board of review. So what I want to do is just briefly give you a little background about what we've done and kind of why we're here. Obviously, the write-up was pretty thorough about technically why we're here. But what really started us on this venture was the bank building development. Of course. The bank building development impacts the corner lot. Of course, we're talking about 570 Evanston, which is the corner lot which Jason and Courtney Tromley own, and the corner of Scranton and Evanston. So once the bank building property was going to be developed and it was going to be favorably reviewed, it didn't take long to see that it was going to be favorably reviewed, then the Tromleys wanted to consider their options for their corner as well. As all of you know, there have been several, if not many, developments for the entire block over the last 10 and 15 years. So I'm optimistic that, obviously you've approved the bank building, but I'm optimistic that you'll find our project in keeping with all the things that you want as well. So the comprehensive plan, it's interesting that you're going to be reviewing the comprehensive plan tonight as well. The comprehensive plan supports what we plan to do. It calls for transitional multifamily on the entire block. As you can see here, this is the rendering. I think by any objective measure that this is transitional. And obviously the PCZBA unanimously recommended it that move forward, so they thought so as well. The Tromleys, as you know, it's a single family property. It's 2 lots that one of the lots is too small to build on. So for all intents and purposes, it's one large single family lot. They really would like to see the highest and best use for the corner. The highest and best use, especially after the bank building development, is not single family. It is multifamily. And as you heard, we're proposing a 4-unit condominium project. We were in front of the PCZBA 3 times, twice as a workshop, because frankly, when we first went there, we really didn't know what feedback we would get. I mean, it was possible that it would be viewed as inappropriate. I mean, it's a big ask, of course, to go from single family to multifamily using the PMD process. So the first meeting, it took a while just to get all of the members to really agree that multifamily was what the village was willing to see there and in fact wanted. We went back a second time just to make sure, and they gave us favorable comments at that time. So the third time we went back formally, and that's of course why we're here. They unanimously recommended that we move forward. We went to the ABR about a week ago. And as you heard, I think they were positively in favor of the project. It would be rare if they said it was perfect, so we have a little work to do. One of their comments was And you'll see, I'll talk in some detail about the appearance and get into any detail you want. But in the PCZBA workshops, we proposed a building that was limestone on the base, partial limestone on the base, and stucco or plastic above, and all the typical residential features that you see. We changed it to brick for the ABR because we thought it should blend in more with the bank building property. Well, neither did the PCZBA or the ABR really think that was a good idea. And frankly, some interested parties in terms of who's interested in buying units and the Tromleys preferred the limestone anyway. So we do have at the end of the presentation a revised rendering that just shows the limestone, really just for your information. We're not expecting anything other than to just keep you well informed. One of the things we're proudest of, frankly, is we have all of the adjacent neighbors, except for one. It's not unanimous, but the neighbors on the east side and the south side are all in favor of the project. They've either showed up at the meetings and supported it. They've written emails, as a matter of fact. So that we've worked really hard to keep them informed and frankly make sure that what we're doing is not going to impact them negatively at all.
Okay, Tom, I thought you had a message of support from your neighbor on the north side.
Jean is not here. I don't see Jean, so maybe she's changed her mind. I always try to get everybody to at least neutral. I mean, I've been doing this a long time. Jean at the PCZBA came and was not in favor of it. I mean, again, that's public record, so I'm not telling you anything you don't know. And again, I'm going to show you tonight what I presented, and in hopes that Jean would understand that given what we're planning to do, it wasn't going to negatively impact her property. But maybe she has at least gotten to neutral. We'll see. But Lee Neisted, who was opposed to it pretty vehemently at the beginning, has changed his mind. He is no longer opposed. In fact, sent Jason Tromley and I a text in January saying, he thought it's going to be fine, and in fact, can you do a lot of landscaping and put a taller fence along his property, which is one of the variances or modifications we're asking for based on his request.
And I've seen his communication, yes.
Yeah. But the other neighbors, the Morawskis, the Reeses, Lemieux, Kluchkas, are all in favor, and they are really impacted the most because they look out their front window and look right at this building. Okay?
Thank you.
All right, so what I want to do is just briefly go through the presentation. Drew, if you could go back to the rendering, is that the one? Okay, so you've seen the rendering. Just real quickly, you can see the brick there. So one of the comments that the ABR said is they thought the south elevation was a little too complex, maybe too busy. I worked very hard. The building is good size, so we worked very hard to break down the massing. We're clearly using all of the residential tools at my disposal: pitched roofs, dormers, front porches, front doors. It's really very different than the bank building project by design, of course. But they weren't terribly happy about the brick, and I think that maybe made it a little heavier and a little maybe more complex. So the next slide is the block plan. That's, Drew, where you had it the last time. So the block plan is just what you'd expect. We're honoring kind of the front of the Eltunian Whitmer project along Scranton and along the back. Our setbacks along between the buildings are about the same. The setback along Evanston is 20 feet to the property line, about 25 feet to the sidewalk, a typical front yard setback. That allows us to preserve those 3 oak trees. Now again, that's, kind of, we're far enough away, but oaks are kind of temperamental, so we're going to do the best we can, and hopefully they'll survive. One statistic there that is way too small to read, but if you drive by the property, which of course many of you do probably every day, the corner property is 43% of the block, and the bank building property is 57%. It does really not appear to be that big because, as you know, the old Northern Trust parking lot, the overflow parking lot, is on one of the lots, and because of the bushes there, it almost feels like just the green area at the corner is the size of the lot. But in fact, it's about twice that big, so it represents about 43% of the overall block. Okay, next slide. The next slide should be the streetscape. So hopefully you can blow that up a little. We did not change the streetscape for purposes of the rendering tonight to show the limestone. So this still shows the brick. As I said, that was an attempt to try to blend in with the bank building a little more. But you can see the two buildings are intentionally designed very differently. We're trying to make our building as residential as possible, so it creates a transitional nice buffer between really what is a CBD piece of property to all the single-family homes to the east and south. Next slide. So this is the site plan. I don't know that there's anything specific that is worth mentioning here. You know, we're fully expecting to have to put stormwater there along the west part of the building. You can kind of see, now maybe what is interesting, I haven't really described the way the building works. So there is underground parking. I think all of you probably know that. So you drive under the building and there are 8 spots for 4 units. Each unit has its own private entrance in the garage, in the basement. So you can walk in your entrance in the garage or lower level, and you have a stair and an elevator to each unit. So if you're on the first floor units, one's on the north side, one's on the south side, and they have a front porch facing Evanston. They have a shared front porch, but a front door as well. So if you're a guest, you'd literally come to your front door just like a single-family home, and you'd walk right in on their level, all right? On the second floor, your entrance would be off of Scranton. You have a shared front porch in the middle. You come into your own foyer. There's a stair and an elevator and actually a little room for a couple chairs if you'd like. And then you would go up to the second floor. I don't have a diagram that shows this, but the second floor is divided, one on the east and one on the west. So it's the exact opposite of the first floor. The second floor has a couple outdoor terraces, and then the second floor units also have a small roof deck up at the top, and that's why we need the variance for a third level, and we're slightly over the 30 feet. One thing that's very interesting is we are at 34 feet, which is actually allowed by the single-family zoning. The single-family zoning allows a third floor habitable attic as well. So when you go to a PMD, that changes, and that's why we have to ask for a variance. Next slide, please. So this is the landscape plan, local. We're really proud also. We're trying to use all Lake Bluffers to do the work. So this is done by Dan Horvat, who you probably know. He lives in Lake Bluff. So he did this plan. There is not a lot of area to landscape here. And what I passed over is there are some very large existing mature evergreens along our north property line between us and 580 Evanston, which is Gene's house, the White House on the corner. All of those are being preserved. The ComEd power lines are being put underground, and they're going to directional bore under those evergreens, so they should be saved. They are far less temperamental than the oaks, so we're very confident that they'll survive and provide very good screening. Next slide. So these are the elevations. Happy to answer questions. Obviously, they're quite small, but for purposes of tonight, I think they're just really more of a reference document than anything. And then I think there's one more slide. Oh, 2 more. So if you could blow that hand diagram up, and then there'll just be one more after that. So I did a diagram for purposes of the PCZBA showing what the variance would look like and how it would impact the neighbors. So if you look at the upper diagram, it's very hard to see because it's kind of small, but you can see the bank building development on the left, and the purple area is the area that would be the 3rd floor. The purple area, the highlighted area on the right, which is our building, is a roof plan. And our roof plan, our building's a bit of a Swiss watch here. There's no question about it. We got a lot of stuff going on here, and we did that intentionally to try to break the scale down and the massing and so forth. But the back highlight there is just 1 foot of a ridge that is over the 30 feet, and it's just the geometry of the roof. The front area is the peak of the front roof that is 34 feet. The elevator to the roof decks are centered right under that, so the elevator overrun fits right under the ridge, so it doesn't really look like there's an elevator going up at all, and that's the area that would be the 3rd floor, giving access to the roof deck. On the bottom, if you've got really good eyes, at the right side of the diagram on the bottom is a daylight plane diagram and analysis. Now, the daylight plane is not a requirement once you get into the PMD. However, that's a good gauge of how overbearing you are on your neighbor. So the diagram, that angle, you come up 12 feet, you draw a 45-degree line, and that's what the daylight plane is per the municipal code. So you can see how far back and how, because of our pitched roof, how to the houses to the north, how far away we are, and frankly, how we're scaling it back and pitching the roof. So we're really not impacting them that much at all. Next slide. So I think the next slide should be the revised rendering. So this is the exact same rendering you saw, and between the ABR meeting and literally this morning, we changed the brick to a limestone to match the chimneys. Everybody seems to like this much better. I certainly do. I'm only showing it tonight just so you have a reference point. We'll go back to the ABR with this at the next meeting or whenever we get there. And that should be it. Happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Tom. Questions on the board?
Can you talk a little bit about price point?
Yes. So our units are expensive. I wish we could figure out a way to do units far less, but that's just not the way it works. Our price point is going to be about $750 a square foot, sell from $2 to $2.5 million, less than the bank building property. As you've heard, they're going to be close to $1,000 a square foot, so maybe 25% more than ours. We do have a few interested buyers, knowing what the price point is. Happy to report they're all local people, which makes me feel a little better. But I would love if my friends could afford to buy in there. But nevertheless, that should answer your question.
Thank you. I really like the transitional aspect of going from the bank to the houses on the south side of Evanston. I think it does a good. It was basically what we were trying to achieve in town. It shows this is the missing middle. You're doing the missing middle.
Well, that was the objective. We worked hard. I mean, we talked to the village a lot. I mean, we wanted to do what you guys wanted.
Yep.
And clearly, this is not a money-making venture. Frankly, this is more of a labor of love. We're not going to lose money, hopefully, but we're really trying to do. We recognize how important this corner is. This is really the gateway to the CBD from the lake, and we get it. And we're happy to get in front of the ABR and anybody else to give us some constructive criticism because it's an important corner.
It is, and also thank you for burying power lines. Mm-hmm. I know this is painful, but thank you very much for that.
Mm-hmm. Good.
And so I really love it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Any more comments? It is public comments. Yes. Do we have anybody who would like to comment on this project? I do not see anybody wishing to speak. Do we have anybody online?
Anyone participating online wishing to make a comment on this item, please raise your hand through our Zoom meeting and you will be recognized at this time. Doesn't appear so.
All right, thank you so much. It is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you very much, and the motion carries. Congratulations, Tom. Good luck.
Thank you.
Next item would be item 14, an ordinance adopting a new comprehensive plan for the village of Lake Bluff. It is an ordinance. Is there a motion to approve this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. In 2023, the village engaged Tesca and Associates as a planning consultant to update the village comprehensive land use plan to guide future village development and land use decisions for the next 20 years. The new plan provides an overarching framework and prioritizes elements from the numerous sub-area and topical plans created by the village since the 1997 comprehensive plan was adopted. Following engagement by the community, the PCCBA and staff, Tesca and Associates, drafted the proposed plan. Key elements of the plan include the following: 1, community profile; 2, fundamental planning goals; 3, land use and sub-areas; 4, environment and open space; 5, housing; 6, community character and design; 7, transportation; 8, economic development; and 9, implementation. Notably, the village hired Optico's Design, the preeminent design firm with respect to missing middle housing, to assist the village with its deep evaluation of the housing elements of a plan. As you might recall, Michael Blue of Tesca and Associates presented the draft plan to the village board on March 10, 2025. Since this presentation, only minor edits have been made. The PCCBA opened the public hearing for the draft plan on March 19, 2025, and at its April 16, 2025 meeting, the PCCBA forwarded a unanimous favorable recommendation to the village board, subject to minor changes which have since been incorporated into the final plan document. Comments on the board? No. I think the plan will represent a progress and forward motion for a village for what we have thought about first, that is provide the ability to downsize in Lake Bluff for diversifying our housing in Lake Bluff. And so for that, I'm very happy to what staff and Opticos and Tesca have done for this plan. I do not hear more comments. This is a voice vote.
You need a public comment?
Public comments? Do we have any public comments? Peter, please state your name and address.
Thank you. Peter White, 400 East Sheridan Place. Some good news. I heard some of the flock cameras are in, so thanks for doing that. The chief just informed me of that. To the comprehensive plan, I appeared before the Planning and Zoning Committee meeting in March. I subsequently wrote them a letter. I'll read you the last paragraph, and then I'd like to read the rest of the letter into the record. Please accept these ideas in the spirit of good community stewardship. I look forward to your feedback on my thoughts at the board's next regular meeting. I did have a conversation with Drew briefly. I got no formal feedback. As a result, I'm here to ask you to consider my comments prior to your vote on the comprehensive plan. This is a letter dated March 25th, 2025 to the Joint Plan Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals. I delivered it to Drew. Dear board members, following up on my public comments at your March 19th meeting, please let me reiterate my concerns and suggest a remedy. 2 public documents, a comprehensive land use plan and the Village of Lake Bluff Affordable Housing Plan, July 2023 update, use of phrases missing middle housing and affordable housing. These phrases are not clearly defined in either document, nor are they used with a consistent meaning, even in the board meetings I attended. They are often used synonymously. I propose the following remedy. I propose the following to remedy the lack of public clarity. Number one, clearly define the phrases missing middle housing and affordable housing. This definition should include any state regulatory meaning of the phrases, financial description of the phrases, architectural explanations of options for these phrases. D, an estimated market price, which we heard a little about tonight, for the various architectural types of housing units that are quote unquote affordable, unquote, or quote middle missing. And E, an estimate of the number of units and inhabitants per unit for the architectural options. 2.1 should be articulated in both the reference documents and used consistently. 3, the board should consistently adhere to the definitions in public meetings and communications. It's very off the letter, it's very confusing coming to these meetings and how these terms are used. So I think some clarity would be helpful. 4, a table with the points above would go a long way to enhancing public clarity. Clarity must be the goal for all of us. As a matter of best practice, I believe the board would be well served to develop an economic impact housing project synopsis for each project, communicated prior to the PCZBA's approval, that would explain each housing project's economic impact on the village, economic impact on the school district, economic impact on the village taxpayers, the number of units, population density, market costs, and various other data points that the community would be interested in. So we heard some of this on the project that Mr. Dobbs has, pardon? Dobbins. He's down the street from me, I should know better. Articulated tonight, but I don't think there's any source that the community can go to get a good look, a snapshot. You got to come to the meetings, and that's rather burdensome. So having said that, I ask that you consider my letter prior to adoption of the comprehensive plan, because there is, in my mind, a lack of clarity in how these words are used. As I pointed out to the PCBZAC board, affordable housing is defined statutorily in the state of Illinois. And we throw that term around, and I don't think people in the community really fully understand what affordable housing means under state of Illinois statutes.
Thank you, Peter. I was informed that PCZBA took your comments at heart, and there was a revision that integrated your changes, especially only referring to diversified housing.
I went through the document. If somebody could point those changes out to me, Mr. President, I'd be happy to look at them. But in reviewing the document, I didn't come away with that feeling.
The PCZ, if I may.
Absolutely.
The PCZBA was provided Mr. White's letter, and there was a long conversation about his comments at the public hearing. There were a number of edits made with the best of intentions to make those distinctions. There is a definition of affordable housing in the plan, and there was lots of references back and forth at the meeting. And in the document, what the Plan Commission Zoning Board of Appeals wanted to do was to be sure that the comprehensive land use plan did reference the village's affordable housing plan. At advice of council, that made sense because the village's plan is supporting the village's comprehensive land use plan is showing linkage to its affordable housing goals to satisfy statutory requirements. At the same time, the focus in the comprehensive land use plan was to the housing conversation specifically was around creating opportunities for more diversification of housing product types. And the missing middle housing terminology was the best way for the village to demonstrate that. And there's a number of exhibits in there describing what affordable housing is and showing the continuum of affordable housing. And so I think the PCZBA, when they handed this off to you, did its best to try to address those comments. There was a long conversation with Mr. White regarding the village's affordable housing plan and how that's a document that the PCZBA does not participate in creating necessarily, but there are linkages between the comprehensive land use plan and the affordable housing plan, and it is a lot, but there's different goals within each of those documents and those visionary statements within each, but they do work hand in glove.
I will agree, though, that during our discussions, sometimes I think we use missing middle and affordable housing, not necessarily intentionally interchangeably, but in the same conversation without sometimes making a distinction. And I remember, when I first started on this board, Steve Reppin was kind enough to kind of explain to me the distinctions, and they do mean different things. So I could appreciate that for public transparency, maybe when those items are going to intentionally be discussed, that maybe clarity be made about the definition of those terms to some degree before making a record.
Yeah, in the affordable housing document, which is referenced in the comprehensive document, there's no definition of what affordable is under the state of Illinois statute. So if you're gonna reference that back, I think you need to do that. And 750,000 and 1.2 million does not meet the affordable housing
I think that's more
statute.
missing, right.
Under the state of Illinois, 10%. Anyway, I just throw it out there. Thank you for your consideration. I think you need to do it. And Drew, I'm happy to come over and understand the changes
Sure. Yeah.
at your convenience. And since I got the time wrong and was here for the whole meeting of the whole, let me throw my 2 cents in if you'd be so kind. Trustee Cole, I think your idea was extremely creative. I liked it. I'm all for admirable causes and heritage, support it fully. I think Highland Park has a good solution. I question, we don't fly the state of Illinois flag out in front, or the Lake County flag, or the Lake Bluff flag on the flagpole. So I would be a little reticent to put any flag other than those governmental agencies on a flagpole outside the village hall or behind the war memorial flag. And I'll put my money where my mouth is. I'll match the first $500 of private fundraising to erect another flagpole, as long as it's not as big as the one that camping company is flying, that they're in all kinds of trouble for. You know, the one that's about 100 feet tall?
We'll keep you in mind. Thank
So
you.
you can put
Money?
tax deductible. Make sure you got a 501c3.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Any other
This
public
is
comment?
first reading, right?
This is first reading.
So we have an opportunity to address these concerns.
Happy to sit down with Mr. White and go through them
Okay.
and talk through them.
And just, I have a quick question, because
Yeah.
I think we have spent a lot of time talking about, and there were some missing middle workshops. Can we make sure that those materials are highlighted or readily available? Aren't they, or am I? Yeah.
They are on the village's website, but I will say part of the PCZBA's conversation is that there was a discussion about should that study be included as an appendix to the plan, and it was specifically recommended not to do that.
And why is that?
I think because it didn't get, well, to very specifically, I think Optico's recommendations were much more aggressive in pushing the implementation of missing middle in areas that the PCZBA was not comfortable with and that was not consistent with their recommending, I guess, their vision for the community. The idea that there was, as an example, the idea to allow missing middle to be installed within a certain, they talked about having a radius of, let's say, 500 feet of the R5 district to consider special use permits or other, as of right even, to have multifamily product, missing middle product to be allowed in existing single-family detached neighborhoods, and that was too aggressive in their
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
And so the idea was this plan has, the PCZBA's recommendation was, let's do it where it's already allowed, like in the Village's CBD and the R5, and then possibly in some greenfield developments, like Stonebridge. If you remember, Stonebridge did have missing middle as part of their first development plan approval. And maybe there's other green fields that will be developed someday that could incorporate them within a plan that makes sense for the community. So they were, I would call it green-minded about that, open to that, but didn't want to go as far as Opticos went with their multitude of recommendations.
So I can understand why that wasn't an appendix
Yeah.
or an attachment, but I am also concerned that it get lost altogether.
It's
as-
still on the village's website, and it's something that, like, and there's been a multitude of plans that have been, planning documents that have been sponsored by the village over the years to include the Central Business District study in '98, and there was 2 parts to that, and those plans are on the village's website as resources or document that study, and those documents resulted in, again, specific example, the CBD study that was done before the year 2000, resulted in the village creating a specific central business district plan and a business district. And I think there was a moratorium issued for a while the village did all that work. So it's very common for a comp plan to get adopted. In fact, I think next week, the PCCBA's meeting, and there's, in the very back of the comp plan is I'll call it the to-do list. And it has various comments about a particular directive or strategic initiative in there, and it rates it in terms of how long do we think it'll take? Does it require a lot of resources? Is it easy to do, hard to do? And then what level of priority is it? And so staff is going to be presenting to the PCZBA a list of those and saying, okay, which ones do you want to tackle first? Because there is a long list and there is work required. And for those of you who attended Elrod Friedman's meeting last week, training session, they talked about that it is important to have your comprehensive land use plan and your zoning code aligned. And right now, there are certain areas that don't. And so that's the work that needs to happen. And the PCCBA is going to focus on creating that, or editing the list that staff's going to present to them and say, this is where we want to work first.
Just one comment to add on that. In regards to it not getting lost, the major recommendations from that plan were incorporated into the comp plan in the housing section.
Thank you. So procedurally, we could have a vote right now, and we have these comments from Peter being worked on with Drew, and we will have a second vote in 2 weeks from now, correct?
That's right. And and the PCZBA talked about it for over 2 years. There were multiple public meetings, and there was many workshops, and there was an enormous amount of input from the community on the community mapping section. And so procedurally, the good news is the village as a community has participated in the creation of this plan. So where I'm leading to that is, this is first reading. There's no requirement that you approve it within 2 weeks. You can wait another 4 weeks, and that's okay. But you don't have to do that, but this is only first reading. I will certainly meet with Mr. White and talk through it. And if I come back and say I can highlight, if that conversation results in edits, I'll let you know. If it doesn't, I'll let you know. But
Okay. How is the board feeling about waiting 2 weeks, or should we go with a vote tonight? What do you guys think?
it is first reading
It's
only.
first reading, I would be comfortable going forward with first reading, but given that we have a new board, I'm also okay with waiting.
This was an option, guys. It's new. Sorry.
What do you guys think, Shana and Taryn?
I say let's do first reading
Okay,
and
I'll report back at the next meeting, and you can choose to act as you seem fit at that meeting.
Sure.
okay, so we are going to postpone this vote.
The
first
first reading.
Okay. All right. Okay, so it's gonna be, I thought it was gonna be there, and I did not understand what you said.
Sorry. Sorry if I was not clear.
So it is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion carries. So, Peter, I trust you will talk to Drew in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I'd ask the board, each trustee to read my letter and digest it.
Drew will forward. Thank you. So now resuming the normal flow of our meeting. Next is item 6, our village finance report. And that would be our item 6A, that is the warrants report for April 25 to May 12, 2025, and fiscal year 2025 payroll expenditures to date. Is there a motion for this report?
So moved?
Second?
Thank you. And this the report is for expenditure of village funds for payments of invoices in the amount of $585,672.91 for April 25 to May 12, 2025, and for expenditure of village funds for payment of payroll in the amount of $337,862 for April 2025, for a total expenditures of $923,534.91. Are there any questions to Bettina and Drew on this report? Are there any public comments on this report? And I did look at the ledger, and I did not see anything worthy of asking a question. Without any more comments, it's a roll call vote. Clerk?
Was there a motion a second?
Yeah.
I don't have that. Someone make a motion to approve the warrant? Did I hear a motion? I don't think there was.
Let's make sure. Did you get it?
I did not get the
Oh,
motion, I
let's
got the
make sure.
second.
Do it. Ask for a motion.
Oh,
a
can I
second.
please have a motion? Repeat.
So moved. Seconded.
Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Fisher?
Aye.
Trustee Freed?
Aye.
Trustee Ryder?
Aye.
Trustee Cole?
Aye.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Next is our village administrator's report.
I have no report.
Thank you. Followed by our attorney's report.
I have no report.
Thank you. Next would be my report, and tonight we have an appointment, the possibility of an appointment to the village advisory boards and commissions for the senior commission. On December 19, 1996, the Senior Resource Commission was established by the Lake Forest City Council. The purpose of the SRC is to present to the Lake Forest Mayor and City Council recommendations for the coordination and planning for Lake Forest and Lake Bluff seniors in order to preserve their dignity, independence, and quality of life. Traditionally, 5 of the 7 SRC members have been from Lake Forest, with the remaining 2 from Lake Bluff. However, from time to time, Lake Bluffers have occupied 3 seats on the SRC, which meets every 2 months on the second Thursday at 1 p.m. at Dickinson Hall. Lake Bluff resident Paisley Valentini-Sinik has indicated interest in filling the current vacancy on the SRC, and I will recommend this appointment. And I know Paisley for a long time. Our kids grew up together. Paisley has been a very vocal voice for our senior citizens and has been working at multiple places, including Lake Forest Place, as a lead in this organization. And I think she's absolutely perfectly suited to take a leadership role in our community on this commission.
Couldn't agree more. She's terrific on this. One of our resident experts.
Yes, absolutely. Should I take a motion for,
Accepting the
Approval of the
appointment. Yeah,
could I please accept the motion to accept the appointment of Paisley on the SRC?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. It's a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And congratulations, Paisley. This is a good move. This is great. Next would be our consent agenda. And our consent agenda tonight is for item 10, acceptance of a correspondence. Please note that all correspondence was delivered to the Village Board of Trustees in the informational report on April 25 and May 2nd, 2025. And for item 11, a second reading of an ordinance approving an amendment to the special use for a planned commercial development, an amendment to a final development plan, and a variation from the zoning regulation for 975 Rockland Road. Is there a request to remove any of these items from the consent agenda? No. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion on these two items? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Fried,
Aye.
Trustee Ryder,
Aye.
Trustee Fisher,
Aye.
Trustee Cole.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Next item is item 12, a resolution authorizing the execution of a contract with BS&A Software of Bath, Michigan, for a cloud upgrade of the current enterprise resource planning system. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
Second.
Currently, BS&A serves over 2,100 local governments in 17 states, and of those, hundreds are in Illinois. The village has utilized BS&A on-site financial software since 2016, and the future of their supported applications is a cloud, secure platform version of their existing legacy software. Transitioning to a new iteration of the software, the BS&A cloud will transfer on-premise data and legacy infrastructure to a cloud-based version with the following advantages. Number one, predictable subscription pricing. Number two, unlimited access. Number three, multi-factor user authentication. Number four, automatic system updates without IT assistance. Number five, robust security monitoring and disaster recovery. Number six, freeing IT resources and reducing server utilization. Number seven, a centralized single database versus multiple module databases. And number eight, enhanced communication across modules. The quote provided from BS&A provides installation cost of $38,200 with additional $23,570 in annual maintenance fee, which may be credited by an unused month from the $18,348 in legacy maintenance costs paid in 2025. The purchase and upgrade of a village financial software is included in the recently approved fiscal year 2026 budget. Staff recommends that the village board authorizes an agreement with BS&A software for this cloud upgrade. One question I had after reading that was, how much savings will you have from the local IT management you have contracted today for not maintaining that equipment on site?
I can't really give you like a tangible number to the savings, but there's time savings in so far that we have 2 updates a month that they won't need to manage anymore. Those updates will happen automatically through the cloud-based version of the software. And basically they'll be hands-off because the server will be on site.
Okay, yes. But you cannot quantify lesser time?
So the way that we utilize that managed IT services, a quantity of time that they are representative here, so they could use those hours for other functionality.
Okay.
So it won't be necessarily reducing time, it'll just give them time to do other things.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Questions on the board?
No.
It is a roll call vote. Sorry. Is there, do we have public comments on this item? I do not see comments. It is a roll call vote. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Ryder,
Aye.
Trustee Cole,
Aye.
Trustee Fisher,
Aye.
Trustee Fried.
Because we're waiving bids, it requires 2/3 of the Board of Trustees, so the village president.
Yes.
President Charlot.
Yes.
The motion carries with 2/3.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter. We addressed item 13 and 14. Item 15 is a resolution authorizing the termination and release of a restrictive covenant for the Lansdowne subdivision. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Seconded.
Thank you. In April of 2025, village staff met with Jonathan Baksh. Do I say that name correctly?
Bosch.
Baksh. Sorry, thank you very much. Owner of 511 Lansdowne Lane, to discuss his interest in removing a restriction on the Lansdowne subdivision plat, which prohibits any accessory structure, including fences, from the landscape buffer yards shown on the plat. Mr. Baksh intends to construct a fence along the south and west sides of his property. Village staff spoke with the village attorney and determined that the request would require approval from all property owners within the subdivision and the village board. If approved, the attached agreement would allow fences within the landscape buffer yards through the subdivision, but would not allow other accessory structures in this area. Mr. Baksh has collected letters in support of this request from all Lansdowne property owners and will be in attendance tonight to answer any questions. So thank you very much. Any questions on the board tonight?
No.
George, do you mind approaching the lectern?
I thought you were jumping to a vote, so I was gonna. I wanted to make a comment on this issue.
Okay.
When it's approved.
Would you like to make Mr. Baksh, would you like to make a comment before additional comments from the public?
I'm happy to if the board would like. I think the request is somewhat straightforward. We moved into the property about a year ago. The property has a lot of in the back inside of the property. There's a lot of buckthorn that was choking out the oaks. And a lot of the more the trees that you'd want to be on the property. And so we've invested a good bit of money and time to start clearing that out. And to clear out more, right now the buckthorn is really the only thing that's there to provide any buffering between Moffett Road and our neighbors on Cambridge. And so for us, we would like to continue to invest in beautification of the property and invest in more trees and more native species. And I've got a long list here of the work that we've already done. But to do that, we would need this restrictive covenant lifted. We have talked to every homeowner in the subdivision, which at the request of the village, they are in unanimous support of what we're trying to do and make Lake Bluff and our subdivision nicer. So that's the request.
Thank you. Any questions to Mr. Baksh?
No? Thank you.
The question I have is just, you're just seeking it along Moffett or along the back side of your property as well, the south side?
Both. We're seeking to remove any restrictions for fencing. I think the way it's, right now it's worded that there's no accessory structures. And when this was drafted probably 20 years ago, it lists there specifically things like parking lots, structures, like sheds, things like that. But, we're only looking to change it so that we are allowed to install fences, which are considered accessory structures. And so right now, if you live on Cambridge, you're allowed to put up a fence at the same place that we're seeking to. So if you live on that side of the road, you can put a fence, but if you live on the Lansdowne, you're not. And so I'm not sure why. And so we're looking to do that. And then on the Moffett side, as soon as we clear out the buckthorn, our backyard will be sitting on Moffett. So we'd like to have a fence on that side as well.
Thanks.
Okay. Do we have any public comment, George?
This is
George Russell, 448 Gurney Avenue. I'm not here to speak for or against the issue, but I did have a question about the process. And it relates to whenever any subdivision is approved of this size, it is very controversial. And back when Lansdowne was approved, there were quite a few of the immediate neighbors that were vigorously opposed, and it took a while reducing the number of lots. And my specific question relates to, have all the immediate neighbors been notified that the village is about to change the regulation regarding the fence?
No.
And so that process, as a resident, concerns me. I don't know, maybe all the neighbors have changed, but maybe some of them haven't changed. And part of the overall deal, if you will, to approve the subdivision was the creation of this landscaped buffer area. And now essentially the landscape buffer area will go away because it will be hidden by a fence. I don't live there, so it doesn't impact me, although the idea of a big fence, I don't know if it's going to be a 6-foot fence along Moffett Road or what it would be. Probably the fence code doesn't allow that, in fact. Probably. But at any rate, just asking that the trustees pause and think, there could be a neighbor there that's still relying on that vegetative buffer, and they may not know about it because not too many residents read every agenda. And they may not learn about it until a new fence goes right along their shared property line. And maybe some of the fences do exist, and maybe all the neighbors have changed. I'm just pointing it out that for process for this type of change, would it not be better to give them the opportunity to comment ahead of time?
There's another comment, George, also, because you used to work for a village as well. And I will say that because you used to be part of its organization at some point for a long time. The buckthorns have invaded Lake Bluff, and buckthorns have a tendency to kill everything else in vicinity, including the mature trees. And I've seen that in my yard where everything was wiped out by buckthorn. And so what we have been doing is removing all that, and of course we're left with a complete void. And so we have been replanting native, including hawthorns and white and red oaks, and a few other species that are absolutely local, evergreens and so on. So is this a possibility where instead of putting a fence, could you replant things that are beneficial and local, native to our environment?
Yeah.
And once again, to be clear, I'm not concerned about, and I completely agree with removing buckthorn. It's the idea of this promise when the subdivision was approved to the neighbors, part of the whole deal, that there would not be fencing right at the property line, that there would be an open vegetative buffer. And now we're taking away without specifically telling them, as we would in a zoning process.
And I do respect why you're here to actually carry forward a promise that was made. And so I'm trying to get to a point where we might not need a fence if we are replanting.
I guess Mr. Russell is correct in that the process here, when Clara had a conversation with the village attorney about what is the official process, it doesn't mean that the village board can't refer this to the PCZBA for have a public meeting and to notice the neighbors. You could do that is a choice. And we talked about including that potentially as part of this is just give you all the alternatives. But that always is really, with rare exception, you can refer it to another committee to hear this request with direction and to make sure that point is addressed. That is an alternative this evening, although it's not specifically laid out in front of you. Similarly, you can require the property owner, if you're going to give relief with respect to this covenant, to say it has to be a fence that's not a board on board, right? It's not an opaque fence. It has to be open. There's different ways to do that, and I don't know if the specific concern is actually deer eating your plant materials. That happens a lot, and people try to create very large fences to keep them from doing that. So there's different ways to manage the issue, but from a pure procedure issue, you could refer this to the PCZBA and ask them to hold a public meeting and notify the neighbor, but that is not required by law or the village's own subdivision regulations.
Or you could provide the neighbors notice that you're going to be considering it.
Yeah.
And you can just keep it at your level, but just provide additional notice. That's just another option.
Yes.
I did appreciate that the HOA was thorough in their providing their input. So, but that does mean that people that are farther down the road and not directly impacted have weighed in. It seems to me the people that are adjacent should be provided notice one way or another. It wouldn't be a matter of saying no, it'd just be a matter of making sure that everybody understands what's happening and why. That would be my preference, and if the PCZBA is the place to have that, then that makes sense. Otherwise, we could do it at a meeting. But I do think adjacent property owners ought to be notified.
But like Peter Friedman said, the village could say, this is being considered, it'll be read again in 30 days. If you have comments, or 2 weeks, whatever you want, whenever you want to do
Would they
it.
be provided the dear homeowner, this is happening?
The village
letter?
we can send them the letter and show them a copy, what the request is, and I don't know if there's any specific fence plans. You can say this is what it looks like. I don't know if you have those yet so far.
Yes,
Please.
that'd be great.
No, I think, well, a couple of comments. I think first to the questions that you were asking, then to your question. So, I mean, my property today does not look anything like that picture. And so all the greenery and the lushness of that landscape buffer is not what my property looks like. My property is mostly buckthorn. I've been, I think the request last year, I moved in last summer, I must have cleared, sorry, this is off the top of my head, but I think I approved it with the city. I mean, it was probably a dozen dead oaks that I had to take down.
Wow.
They were just getting choked out. And cleared out a lot of the buckthorn and the oaks, and it was just a barren, like there was nothing there. And so I'm just for the record, I would like to read this because I just give you a sense. I've invested already hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that's not an understatement. I have the invoice here. I had John Mariani, hired him as a landscape architect. I hired Canukin to do the planting, all native species, trying to beautify the neighborhood, which is why we have 100% overwhelming support from the homeowner association. So I have planted, just in the last 6 months, 1 redbud, 1 sweet bay magnolia, 3 hawthorn winter kings, 25 quaking aspens, 9 speckled alders, 2 algeny serviceberries, 5 black haw viburnum, 15 pagoda dogwoods, 12 American hazelnuts, 3 9-bark summer wines, 15 northern bush honeysuckles, 9 Calcathum aphrodites, 5 Clethra hummingbirds, 18 Pinelia goldfingers, 31 black chokeberries, 9 buttonbush, 30 marsh rose, 5 bald cypress, 7 Black Hill spruce, 5 Norway spruce, 4 green giant western arborvitae, 30 green gem boxwoods, and 11 Hughes horizontal junipers. So that came at no small expense.
And at a forest.
Yeah.
It looks beautiful, but it's very young. In 5 to 10 years, it's going to look amazing. For the next 5 years, it looks like a barren bunch of little shrubs. And I have no screening into my backyard. I've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into this project. We would like a fence so we have privacy while these trees have the time to flourish. And I would note, if you look at that picture there, on the bottom left there's already a fence. It's an old fence from an old house. On the other side there, on the right, as soon as I cleared this out, there was somebody, they're scoping out putting in another fence because they don't like us looking into their yard either. And so this is gonna take time. It's a project, it's an investment. We're investing in a lot of growth and plants. So what we'd like to do, but even the plans for that plants cost us a lot of money. And so what we want to do now is take on the Moffett side. So just in the past probably couple months this winter, I could probably spot 5, just eyeballed it, oaks that have fallen. I've had Davy trees out there. They want to do some work to revitalize the remaining ones. But I need to get to work. to clear out the buckthorn so I can save what's there. But I can't, I'm not gonna invest in that unless I can, because then my backyard is on Moffett. And it's gonna take 5 to 10 years for all this to grow. 20 years ago, when this was put in place, it probably made a lot of sense. There was probably a lot of landscaping there. And I get why this was put in place, but to me, it doesn't make sense. And so I respectfully request the committee to approve this. It's taken me a lot of time just to get to this point, chasing down 7 homeowners. I was asked to get 7 signatures from both the husband and the wife. I'm not a developer, I'm just a homeowner. I'd like to just put up a fence so I can invest in the land.
Okay.
That's it.
So I went through the same story on Witchwood, and basically I removed buckthorns that were about this big, and I had several of them. It killed everything else. So to the comment from George about, no, we had an agreement in that subdivision. That agreement was probably not understanding fully how buckthorn could kill everything else. So now we're in a situation where buckthorns have killed everything else and are killing mature trees. So how is the board feeling about breaking a promise to guarantee a little bit of privacy? That's where we are.
So I have a question. How many more people would need to be notified? Because it sounds like you've done a pretty decent job of hunting down.
Well, those are the homeowners the members of the homeowners association.
Every homeowner associated member, all 7 of us.
Right.
So how many more,
On the other side.
which is how many?
We have 2 neighbors, if that's what you're asking.
Right, but this,
Jason-
I just- it sounds like you've been pretty thorough.
just so I'm clear, the amendment is for the entire
But it is for the entire
subdivision.
subdivision,
Okay.
because I think, because if you look at that, I'm just the first request. I think our neighbor to the east has sought to do this, but frankly didn't invest the effort and the energy and the dollars that I have. So what he's requested that we, he'd like for this request to go across the subdivision, because I think his property is impacted as well.
Right.
And so
I counted about
Understood.
19, 20 notices would go out to the perimeter neighbors.
I think his request is reasonable.
This is a first reading?
No, it'd be one.
It would be
one-
approved.
Yeah, it's just a resolution.
It's a forest.
So it's going to be a one
Is it
vote.
possible that we could approve it with respect to this one property while we give notice?
Yeah, and if we do give notice, can it be back on the call in the next meeting? I mean, I understand, you want to get,
Well, we've actually got an active landscaper there now,
Yeah.
so we could continue doing the
Right.
work. We have to just get back in the queue if we don't approve it tonight, but we'll do what we need to do.
I appreciate your
yeah. I mean,
graciousness.
Yeah,
I appreciate the consideration.
Peter, the question of, can it just be for this property? I think the way that it was circulated.
You'd have to amend the
Yeah.
document and then,
Yeah, then we're back.
yeah.
Years ago, we thought buckthorn was a great landscaping device, right?
but we intentionally planted buckthorn?
No.
We just,
Humans.
humans writ large thought, oh, yay, buckthorn, I don't have to see Moffett, right?
There was no buckthorn in 1960, if you look at maps.
Yeah.
So I would prefer to give notice and take this up 2 weeks from now. But I appreciate that times have changed, but I would feel more comfortable if we were to let people know that this was changing, per George's observation.
Could we make sure, if that's the case, could we just make sure the notice is expedited so that he does have an answer in 2 weeks for sure? I mean,
Is that possible, Drew?
I mean, we can get them out this week, but people can be out of town, people, but that's usually the minimum legal notice is 15 days before a hearing.
Which
So
we
it
can't
was
do.
pretty close to that. Be pretty close to it, though. This is not required, this is courtesy notice, right?
Right.
It is courtesy notice, that's right.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Shana, Taryn?
I'm happy to approve it now.
So am I. If you guys do it, though, I do think it has to be on the call in 2 weeks, because otherwise it's
Shana?
a great
I mean,
investment
Taryn?
that,
Thank you.
Let me ask a different question. Do you have any reason to think that the neighbors that are adjacent to your property are going to have concerns specifically? I mean, have they said, don't you dare put up a fence?
Like I said,
Already heard
one
the
has a
one.
fence and one's putting up a fence
Right.
because they don't want to see us. So it's,
So I will say that I feel comfortable moving forward with a fence today, getting this work done, given that the circumstances have changed. What do you guys think?
I agree. I think this is a more exceptional kind of circumstance, right?
So they can put up a fence, the neighbors that he would be going to see or providing notice to. I mean, I think if they can put up their fence and he has alignment with the homeowners association, they're okay with that part, putting up a fence. It seems they've done diligence on this, I think.
It's also in line with, I feel like, the intentions behind the original covenant, which was to support that there be some greenery, right? That there be some buffer, but that doesn't just happen overnight. So this is almost like in anticipation of creating that, which it sounds like he's done a lot. It just takes time.
How many people do you think in this area selected and I don't know that this is a question to you, but selected their property specifically because it had the greenery barrier rather than the fence vibe barrier? You know what I mean?
Speculative, though. I don't know. 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's speculative, but I'm grappling with, listen, I'm gonna vote yes for this, either today or in 2 weeks. But the legal obligation, we don't have one to give notice, but the backlash of people being upset potentially if now the entire neighborhood is like a ripple effect of fences, so. How much, this is a good question, how much of a burden on you will it be if you have to wait 2 weeks to get that vote?
well, so I'll give you a sense of, if you were to say yes tonight, I have to go hire a landscape architect first to, like, these plans, just like what I've already done, I started the day, I think before we even moved in. We moved in July, and I started the planning when we purchased the house in May. And we are just now, the trees arrived at our house this morning for some of these trees. And so, what is that? Almost a year.
Yeah.
And so that was what I was calling first phase, which I've still got some buffering. Like, what I'd like to do is do what I'm considering phase two, which is now closer to the outskirts, and particularly the Moffett side, which is, as soon as I get out the Buckthorn, my house is on Moffett.
Yeah.
And so, but fortunately I already found the resources, but I think it just kicks off the ball of, I need to go get the landscape architect, I gotta go secure plant material, and now's the time to do that. So it just delays me, and I'm now back in the queue. I've got people at my house tomorrow, so it is an inconvenience, because now I gotta, tell them I'm uncertain again, go do your other jobs, and put me on the schedule whenever you can figure it out.
And specifically, that sounds like there might be a financial burden if you have to have people come back out rather than.
Yes, there is a financial burden.
Right. And arguably, even if people did come and object to their objection to override, I think I had the anticipated, like, weighing the value of what you're proposing versus what their argument may be, which is, like you said, we decided to move here because X, Y, and Z, but the situation has changed. I just think that still the board would likely probably vote in favor of this, so might as well. Makes sense.
And maybe just to address one other question that you had here, I don't think this is going to mean that the whole subdivision is going to get a fence. There's a reason. I'm on Moffett, and so there's a reason why the homeowners, is a very easy thing for the homeowners. It's I think if I was to tell you, and surveying the other other 6 or 7 of total properties, I believe there's only one house that would consider also putting up another fence, which is the one directly to the east of our house, which is, yes, that house right there. So I think the other houses aren't looking at a fence today. They might in the future. I don't want to say that, this restriction is coming off, but I believe there'd only be one other home that would be looking at this, is from my surveying of the homeowners.
So the thought I have is, it's an interesting situation where we try to preserve privacy, but yet I remember distinctly about 2 years ago, maybe, where the state of Illinois, Peter, gave a community like us the ability to ask residents to remove buckthorn. So in effect, we could today come to you and say you have to remove the buckthorn. And then you could come back to us and say, well, but I need a fence. And we would say, no, because you cannot. So it's a weird situation where you're trying to do the right thing by planting. I'm in the same situation, so I understand what the numbers could be, okay? And Marini too. So I understand how much you're spending trying to preserve privacy that will not be there for another 5 years. And so I think the fence makes sense, but you're breaking the promise we made to not have fences. So a rock and a hard place.
Is there generally another type of fence other than a wood opaque, completely opaque fence that might be less
Intrusive.
objectionable?
Well, I mean, the village has put in fences that are the split rail with like wire mesh behind them. I don't know and that's the idea.
I'm thinking wrought iron. I was not really.
I don't have that. I don't know.
No, well, my question back to the board would be, why would my property or our subdivision be penalized? We're just looking to be fenced within whatever guidelines Lake Bluff as a village has. We're not.
It doesn't necessarily provide privacy either.
And that's exactly the point.
that's
If you're to
true.
tell
From
me
the-
you can only
from-
have a
from
black,
Moffett.
that's not, I'm not trying to keep people out. I'm on Moffett Road.
Right. I hear you. If it were this one property, I would have no problem approving it. It's all of the properties and not being able to hear from 19 adjacent property owners that concerns me. And Peter, if you can get creative and tell me how I can approve it for this particular property owner, I'd be happy to do that. Or we can approve it subject to review of the plans, to ensure that the plans that the property owner is proposing are consistent with the intentions of the original covenant.
If you wanted to divide it up, you could say tonight you're approving the removal of the restrictive covenant on your property. And then, now if, the question is, but we won't execute the document. You'll know that you're approved. But the official approval won't come until the next meeting, and at that meeting, the decision will be whether to approve it for the entire subdivision or just your property.
That's what
I
I
like that.
needed.
That makes sense. Good job.
Doesn't that make the most sense here?
It does make the most sense.
Yes.
So we approve it for this landowner, we table the issue of the broader HOA. And we do that upon notice to the property owners, courtesy notice to the property owners. And address at that time if anybody has particular hardship about some special tree somewhere that has to come out that we know about before we approve.
But the only thing for the board to just keep in mind is you're telling the property owner either tonight or in 2 weeks, he will be approved for his property. And he may take action in reliance on that. And so if you were to reverse that, there may be some legal jeopardy in that.
Yeah. And the only reason we would reverse that is if somebody comes with a compelling argument that is taking down
Some anticipated giant reason why, yeah.
Right, I'm just saying, again,
We have to weigh the,
Right,
the
so I'm
extra
saying.
factor that, yeah.
So say I can't really.
I think
To
what
his-
we're providing to the neighbors is a courtesy notice that they can be heard next time. But that what we're providing to this landowner is his right to move forward.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that there's some risk to that. I don't know, that seems to
think
me
it's
a
fair.
Solomon-like resolution for today.
Let's do that.
Well, do you want a motion?
Somebody
to
make
do
a
that?
motion.
I'll make
There
that
is a,
motion.
there is a motion,
to do that.
yeah.
To do that
Well,
specifically.
No.
Mary Cole and Sheena Freed seconded the motion to approve, is what I
So
understand.
do you want to,
But I'm saying
do you
I
want to
would've
revise your
revised,
motion and the
yeah.
seconder to the motion to be as I described?
Second the motion that I originally made to be amended to be the motion that you described, Peter. I don't know. if that
Wait,
makes
no,
sense.
you're making a
You made the
motion.
motion. You made the
I made-
original motion.
Motion, you seconded it. If the motion maker and the seconder agree to that amendment, that'll be the motion.
I agree. Mary Cole agrees. I agree.
To amend it.
To amend.
Oh, I'm sorry. were you the second? I'm sorry.
Wasn't me.
It was definitely Taryn's turn. You were the second.
I was.
Yeah.
It was me.
I had Shayna.
Okay,
I hear
we
that
want
very
you to have your
clearly.
fence.
I hear that very clearly. So we're only discussing for this property, and this roll call will only be for that motion. Only focus on this property, and we will work out the whole HOA.
That'll come back in 2 weeks.
And the motion includes that there will be notice to the other property owners that it'll come back, no matter what, in 2 weeks for a vote on whether or not to
Balance.
approve, finally approve just this property or all of the properties.
Okay,
Right.
Okay,
Okay?
done.
And that will be a roll call.
It can be a voice vote.
Voice vote. It's a voice vote. Voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Anyone opposed?
That was the
Congratulations.
model of clarity.
Thank you. I know it took us a while to get there. Thank you for your support. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your kindness.
And I sincerely apologize to our younger citizens in the room for having
They
a
are-
very
They're
boring.
the model citizens, actually, right?
It seems like Chief gave them some stickers possibly. That's good. Yeah.
So next on our agenda is a recess.
Is it? Did we do the trustee report already?
Oh, no, we didn't. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
good.
Well,
You're
should we have trustee report, and then we have 17 consideration of the April 28th, blah, blah, blah,
Right.
executive session. And
So
then
I
recess.
was myself a very young citizen. So next on our agenda is our trustees report. Next, do we need trustee wish to make a report tonight?
No.
No?
No.
Other than my report would be that when we get the pride pups, that they're called Mary's
Pride
Pride.
Pups.
I'm gonna
That'll be
so
awesome.
happy. Thank
That will
you.
be worth of another conversation, yes. And item 17 is a consideration of the April 28th, 2025 executive session meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any questions, discussions, or concerns? No? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Cole.
Aye.
Trustee Fisher.
Hi.
Trustee Freed.
Aye.
Trustee Ryder.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is item 18 this time, and that will be a recess, and it will be a brief recess for a couple of minutes, 2-3 minutes, and we will be back together.
We need a motion for the recess?
It's a recess, not an adjournment. Okay.
Yes, let's do that now. Yeah. Can I please have your attention? We'll continue with the rest of the meeting.
Okay, yes. You got my attention. Hammer, go.
Let me know if you push it back.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
We can't put the smallest person in the room.
No, I agree. Thank you. I usually steal Peter's before he gets here. I have the short chair again.
I don't.
Yes.
I was very happy.
I know.
Every time I sit down, I wonder what I'm gonna get.
You may want to carry that home.
That's like 2 or 3 meetings.
All right,
I'm the
we're
one
going to continue
at
the
the
program. Please. Rafi, do you mind joining me here?
Okay.
Are you gonna?
So technically, Rafi is still our clerk at this point.
You don't.
Please step to the side.
You can. It didn't sound like you were.
Will you please raise your right hand and repeat after me? I, Regis Charlot, have been elected to the office of village president
I've been elected to the office of village president
in the village of Lake Bluff,
in the village of Lake Bluff,
in the county of Lake Avalon.
county of Lake aforesaid.
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of village president
the duties of the office of village president
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Terry, would you mind joining me to the lectern? You please repeat after me. Could you please raise your right hand and repeat after me? I, Terry Fisher,
I, Taryn Fisher,
having been elected to the office of village trustee
having been elected to the office of village trustee
in the village of Lake Bluff,
in the village of Lake Bluff,
in the county of Lake aforesaid,
in the county of Lake,
aforesaid,
not saying it, stupid word. In the county of Lake, aforesaid.
That's fine.
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
discharge the duties of the office of village trustee
discharge the duties of the office of village trustee
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Made me very proud. Very proud.
It's just for you, audience of one.
Rafi, would you mind joining me? Rafi, would you mind raising your right hand and repeat after me? I, Rafi Alkemas,
I, Rafi El-Shamas,
having been elected to the office of village trustee
having been elected to the office of village trustee
in the village of Lake Bluff,
in the village of Lake Bluff,
in the county of Lake,
in the county of Lake,
aforesaid,
aforesaid,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
that I will faithfully discharge
that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of village trustee
the duties of the office of village trustee
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Suzanne, would you mind joining me?
And no objection back.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Susan Ryder,
I, Susan Ryder,
having been elected to the office of village trustee
being elected to the office of village trustee
in the village of Bluff,
in the village of Bluff,
in the county of Lake, aforesaid,
in the county of Lake Aforesaid,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United
the
States,
Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of village trustee
the duties of the office of village trustee
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Last but not least, Brad, would you mind joining me? Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Brad Taylor, having been elected to the office of village clerk
Having been elected to the office of village clerk
in the village of Lake Bluff,
in the village of Lake Bluff,
in the county of Lake aforesaid,
in the county of Lake aforesaid,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of village clerk
the duties of the office of village clerk
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities.
Thank you. Welcome.
Right here? Yeah. All right. Congratulations. Thanks.
Welcome. It's a new term. Thank you very much. Let's talk together. Paperwork. Our next item, because it is a new term, is a roll call, a call to order and a roll call. And that would be, again, good evening and welcome to this village board, new term on this January 27th, 2025 meeting of the Lake Bluff Village Board of Trustees. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee El Shamaz,
Here?
Trustee Fisher,
Here.
Trustee Freed,
Here?
Trustee Hatch is absent, Trustee Rappin is absent, Trustee Ryder,
Here.
we have a quorum.
Thank you.
President Charlotte?
Thank you. Next on our agenda is item 21, a resolution honoring the public service of village trustee Mary Cole. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Seconded.
It is.
Yep. And so tonight, we have a resolution honoring the public service of village trustee Mary Cole. Whereas Mary Cole has resided in the village of Lake Bluff since 2020 and was first elected to public office in 2023 as a member of the Board of Trustees to complete an unexpired term 2023 to 2025. And whereas Mary Cole, utilizing her significant business and legal acumen, through her terms of elected office, sought to, one, address the needs of and concerns of village residents while maintaining an environment of fairness, respect, and integrity. Two, continue the highest level of professionalism and excellence in service delivered to village residents. Three, be a responsible steward of village finances. Four, foster economic growth and development balance with both preserving the character of village and meeting the needs of residents. And five, maintain public safety. And whereas Mary Cole has been a steward of village resources and strengthened the financial stability and independence of the village by making contributions to the village fiscal policies, processes, and practices, including supporting multi-year budgeting, maintaining the village AAA bond rating, and helping shape the village long-term capital improvement plan. And whereas Mary Cole has maintained and built upon Lake Bluff charm and intrinsic character by supporting historic and architectural preservation of the village by designating numerous structures as local landmarks through her time as a trustee. And whereas Mary Cole has helped ensure Lake Bluff commitment to public safety by supporting one, the village's commitment to CALEA accreditation, two, the acquisition of more and static automated license plate reading systems, and three, the village volunteer fire and EMS services. And whereas Mary Cole has bolstered public assets and systems by improving village infrastructure, including but not limited to planning significant storm sewer system improvements through the completion of a village-wide storm water study and modeling project, supporting the replacement of a Glen Avenue footbridge via public-private partnership, supporting sanitary sewer lift station, manholes and transmission main improvements, elevating the village central business district with a new streetscape, plantings design that culminates community gatherings and connection. And whereas, among Mary Cole's many contributions were her efforts to bolster economic activity by supporting innovative zoning practices that provided multiple businesses the opportunity for growth and flexibility in a rapidly changing industry and encouraging the redevelopment of the Lake Bluff Central Business District by supporting the acquisition of properties adjacent to the downtown as prescribed by the village comprehensive plan, all while maintaining the essence of a small, cozy village. I know this is important. And whereas Mary Cole has enhanced the village environment through the approval of the updated Lake County Watershed Development Ordinance, the recently successful initiative to become Illinois' 8th Bird City Illinois community, the Village Urban Forestry Management Program, which includes a new comprehensive street tree inventory system and urban forestry plan, as well as new village tree care standards, and supporting the funding for a grassroots-led neighborhood food waste diversion pilot program. And whereas Mary Cole, by utilizing the 2026 strategic plan to frame and assess policy choices, has helped ensure transparency in governance and municipal functions by working with village peers to improve assets, reimagine partnerships, foster innovative programs for residents of all ages, and champion cooperation through updated intergovernmental agreements with the City of Lake Forest, Lake Bluff Library, and Lake Bluff Park District, as well as the Lake County Stormwater Management Commission. And whereas her sound judgment and proven leadership contributed greatly to the complex zoning and development matters that were oftentimes before the village board of tonight, including an update to the comprehensive land use plan and the village's affordable housing plan. And whereas the family of Mary Cole, including her mother, Mimi, her brother, David, and dog, Billie Jean, supported and contributed greatly to her service and accomplishment on her behalf of the village of Lake Bluff. Now therefore, be it resolved by the village of President and Board of Trustees of the village of Lake Bluff, County of Lake and State of Illinois, that the village of Lake Bluff hereby recognizes Mary Cole for her significant contributions to the village and its residents. And such recognition and the gratitude of the village of Lake Bluff be publicly expressed to Mary Cole for her service to the community, and that this resolution be incorporated in the minutes of this village board meeting, and that an executive copy of this resolution be presented to Mary Cole as a token of appreciation for her service to the village of Lake Bluff. Congratulations. And as it is tradition for the village of Lake Bluff, we also include for past trustees, this
Bad.
no, this flag has a story behind it. And that story came from Tekeo era. When trustees would be elected, they would actually receive a sheriff's star, basically putting them as part of the police department.
Pension.
And then there was an issue that happened where a trustee decided to take the law in their own hand and use that freely in the village. And since then, we only give that star to trustees at the very end of their term. So,
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We just thank you. Real quick. I just want to say that it has been an honor, a privilege, and fun to serve with you guys. And I wasn't sure if that third one was going to happen, but I think I'm going to miss you all. So I might come in and heckle you every now and again, checking on pickleball, make sure you guys keeping it together. But honestly, like this board embodies everything I love about Lake Bluff. So thank you all for your continued service and for making it so enjoyable while I was here. Thank you.
Thank you.
and last, I will ask for a motion for an adjournment for tonight.
It's tradition.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We're adjourned. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. We're adjourned.
Thanks.